Rapid pace out here early in the second. LeVert, hey, knocks it down. Rondo's on the run. Stops, hits Love. Love fires. Cavs reset with a fresh 14. Under 3 to go in the half. Garland works on Holiday. Lost it for a moment. Shovels to Mobley. Garland, step back three, drew a foul, knocks it down.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening live here to episode number 22 of the All Things Cavalier Podcast. I am your host, a very angry Cavs fan right now, Brandon Lewis, alongside another very angry Cavs fan right now, my co-host, Joey Schneider.
What's going on, Brandon? I am not the best of moods. Cavs got a big game tonight against Philadelphia. I'm nervous. I wasn't nervous a couple of weeks ago, even a month ago. You know, Cavs going to the NBA Finals. That's what I said. It's on tape, and here we are. We got a lot to talk about. Not feeling very good. Well, why don't you start it off? What's topic number one today, my man?
My, things changed from a month ago. So Cavaliers in the last 3 games going 1-2. We both said last week they needed to go 2-1 in that stretch. Most notably, should have beat at least one of Miami or Chicago. I predicted they would go into Miami and win. You predicted they would go into Chicago and win. We were both wrong. This weekend was not a fun weekend to be a Cleveland Cavaliers fan. And even watching the games, there was something off. To me, it didn't feel like there was a lot of energy behind the games. The Miami game was a very weird game where it was a lot of runs. Miami would go up 10. Then the Cavs would come back and be down by 1 or 2. And you're like, okay, we're in this game. Then Miami would come back and make it an 8-9 game. Then the Cavs would respond again. It was a very back and forth, a very much game of runs. And the Chicago game, I mean, DeMar DeRozan got his, but, it didn't really feel like he was quote-unquote dominating the game. And the Cavs, obviously, on that night, without Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Love in the starting lineup that night. There's a lot of moving pieces here. Obviously, Rajon Rondo came back on Saturday, did not play Monday. Caris LeVert came back Monday. And I believe that Markkanen was back on Monday. So there's just so many moving pieces with this team. It's disappointing, but at the same time, it's like, as we talked about, Joey, if they can get these pieces all back and healthy and playing together minus Jared Allen, you still feel like there might be that chance this team can get on a run?
Man, that's a loaded question. Jared Allen, to me, has been the missing piece in all of these games that the Cavs have lost. You can see, and I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast last week or if we talked about it privately, but Evan Mobley is a power forward. He is not a center. Jared Allen is a lot more physical. Mobley needs to be more aggressive on the boards. I see him a lot of times just standing underneath and not even trying to get these rebounds. And I want to yell because you see Okoro and Stevens like scrapping and fighting, and they're 6'7", 6'5", and Mobley's 7 feet, and he should be the one that's going to get these rebounds. I mean, God, it feels like he could get 20 boards a game. But Allen has been so missed. And with this lineup just constantly evolving and changing, and this person's out, this person's in, this person's injured. Okay, well, how are we going to replace him with? Dean Wade was out. Lamar Stevens came in. We've been like, start Stevens. I mean, I'm going to be honest, Stevens, I feel is better in the starting lineup than Dean Wade is, but he's not a starter still, So they did what they needed to do with that. I feel like they kind of corrected it wrong there, even though it didn't lead to a win. But man, the Cavs have got to prove that they can beat a good freaking team, a team with, a team seated higher than them. I mean, even the win against the Clippers, to me, almost felt like a loss We went into overtime and almost lost to the combination of Zubac and Terrence Mann. I mean, it didn't seem like anyone else on the Clippers was doing anything. You know, they don't have Kawhi, they don't have Paul George, they didn't have Norman Powell, Reggie Jackson, their starting point guard, was out. Robert Covington didn't play. We were playing literally guys from the G League, and it took an overtime for us to win with with Darius Garland and Evan Mobley and Karis LeVert coming back. And I will say LeVert did have a really good game. He didn't play a whole lot of minutes. I think it was something around 20 or so, but I think he ended up with like 11 or 12 points, 7 rebounds, a couple of assists, and played really good defense down the stretch to kind of seal it for the Cavs. But at the end of the day, the Cavs, they lost to Miami. They lost to Chicago. They need to prove that they can beat higher seeded teams, good teams that we are going to have to play and beat in the playoffs. And we are hanging on to that 6 seed for dear life. We got Toronto breathing down our necks, only 1 game back. And I think we play Toronto sometime later here coming up.
We do play them at the end of the month in Toronto.
Right. And then you got the Nets, who are on a 4-game win streak. Kevin Durant's back playing like Kevin Durant, like Kevin Durant does, one of the best players in the league. Kyrie dropping 60 on teams. It's getting rough out there if they don't figure it out. And, Chetty Osman had a quote said, that they haven't really been a full team for a while, so I don't know. Is that a confidence thing coming from Chetty, or is he just stating that the team hasn't been all healthy together? Whatever the situation may be, they need to figure it out, and they're not figuring it out right now.
Well, when Jared Allen went down, I think we both agreed that Evan Mobley needed to become the second best player on the team for this team to at least stay afloat. And as you mentioned, there's some nights where Mobley hits stats still without Allen. They still look pretty good. He still winds up with his 10 or 11, 12, however many rebounds. But there's some nights in Miami where it's like, first half, even in the third quarter, I think he only had like 6 points or something like that. And it's like, it's not like even Darius Garland, I think it was the game. I don't remember if it was against Minnesota or it was a team recently. It might have been Indiana, where he finished with that 40-point game, but he only had like 10 points or something like that in the first half. It took a lot of miracle hero ball 30-point like second half to get us back into that ball game. I just think this team is not consistent. I mean, we could have a quarter where we score 40 points. Yeah, that looks great. But then on the flip side, our defense gives up 40 points a quarter. And I said this last week, no lead ever feels safe, but it also feels like no lead the other team has ever feels safe, because it feels like the Cavs can get back into ball games. The Cavs play very weird ball games. I said this all year long. The Cavs have played some of the weirdest ball games I have watched in my young lifetime as an NBA fan. Some games, they are playing like old school 70s basketball. And I know a lot of fans really like the 3-point shot. I know a lot of fans really like the high-scoring games. But when the Cavs defense is on, this team is good. They're still good. They are still, in my opinion, one of the best teams in the NBA when their defense is stopping people. When they hold people to under 100 points this year, they've only had 4 losses. They're 21-4 when they hold teams to under 100 points. It's that side of the ball that over the last 19 games, as I wrote about in my article this week for Believe Land Media, that has been concerning, because over the last 19 ball games, the Cavs have given up over 110 points 10 times. In their previous 47 games, they only did it 9 times. So I don't know if it's the Jared Allen effect. I don't know if it's, guys moving in and out of the lineup. I don't know if it's, guys just being inconsistent. There is something going on with this team that this coaching staff has not yet found a solution to, and it started pretty much right after the Milwaukee game.
So I've been giving this a little bit of thought, and one of the things that I kind of came up with was To me, it seems like it started when Lauri Markkanen got hurt. When the first player, because it took teams where it could not figure out how to guard 3 7-footers. And then it seemed like so Markkanen was out. And then, I believe Garland got hurt. And we traded for LeVert. LeVert, he played a couple of minutes of a couple of games and he was out. Now, then Markkanen was hurt again, and then Allen's out. Rondo was out for a couple of games. We had, Brandon Goodwin was our only point guard. It seemed, I don't want to use the injury excuse, but kind of to go back to what Chetty said, we really have not seen the Cavs at full strength altogether in a while. When they were beating teams, when they were having blowouts. So, unfortunately, Allen's going to be out quite a while. I don't even know if is he going to even be back before the playoffs?
I saw a report today. Chris Fedor tweeted it from Cleveland.com. He said Allen is not having surgery on his injured finger. The Cavs are optimistic he could be back for a couple games to get his, basketball shape back together before the postseason.
That's a long time. And, my fear right now is that the Cavs are going to fall into that, into the play-in games. And I don't think that that's really I think at this point with the schedule that they have, I thought we were supposed to have the easiest schedule, after the beginning of the year, but we got, one of the hardest schedules, it seems like, coming up. I don't think it's too far out of the realm, and I think it's more than likely going to happen that we're going to fall into the play-in game. Toronto's one game behind us, and they're playing amazing. Brooklyn has, like I said, has KD back, Kyrie dropping 60. I could easily see the Cavs being eighth seed, something around there. But, let me ask you this question. If that happens, if the Cavs fall to the 8th seed and they're in the play-in tournament, do you look at that as a loss of the season?
Yes. Because
even if they win.
If they make the postseason, if they are an 8th seed and they get bounced in the first round, yes, I still consider a loss this season. Because as we've talked about throughout this whole last couple of weeks, the Cavs I cannot get this out of my head that literally 2 months ago, they were a game back of the number 1 seed of the Eastern Conference. And yes, we did lose Markkanen. Yes, we did lose Darius Garland, and now we have lost Jared Allen. But it's not like we've lost all of our main stars at once. It's not like Brooklyn, who lost Kevin Durant. James Harden was out there. Kyrie Irving, who obviously with his vaccination status was out. They were, I believe, for 8-10 games and have any of their big three on the court. At one point, we've always had Jared Allen or Evan Mobley or Markkanen, Garland. 2 of the 3 of our best players have always been on the court, it feels like, together. Now, obviously, Darius Garland is the most important. Darius Garland is back. Jared Allen is our second most important player. I give you all of it. But when you start the season the way you do, the way I compare this is to make a quick football analogy and shout out to Den of the Dogs, the Arizona Cardinals, who this year started off as one of the best teams in the National Football League. They got hurt. Obviously, Kyler Murray got hurt. DeAndre Hopkins got hurt at the end of the year. They went from the number 1 seed to being in the wild card and losing in the first round. I view that personally from a football standpoint as a disappointment for them. So to me, that's where I see the Cavs at, is we were one of these top seeds, and now the play-in tournament, I never liked the idea of the play-in tournament to begin with. It's a whole different conversation, but it's like March Madness essentially. If you're a 9 or 10 seed, you lose one game, you're out, and we'll see. But these teams the Cavs would have to go up against in the play-in tournament: Atlanta, Charlotte, Brooklyn, Toronto, whoever it may be. they've matched up pretty well and have given the Cavs trouble. Even though the Cavs have won those ball games, they've been very tough ball games to win if we have won those games. So that's why over the last couple of weeks, partner, I have been just ticked off and raged off because it feels like this season that started off so well was quickly going down the tubes.
You know what? Something else that is really, the Cavs are still 10 games over 500. I mean, they're still really, I mean, they still have a really good record, and where you were fighting over them being being in the play. There's a lot of good teams in the East. There just really are. So, do I think that they could get things back on track? I do. I think that they absolutely could. I think here's one of the things that needs to happen. Darius Garland needs to not become a second half player. If he plays as well in the first half as he does in the second half of games, he'd be scoring 40 points and dishing out 20 dimes a night. He seems like he always starts off super slow and then picks it up at the end of the game.
Yep.
And the other thing that you brought up earlier is no lead seems safe. So when the Cavs get a big lead, I never feel comfortable with it. And then you said, well, when the Cavs, but the Cavs always come back. That's true, but except the Pacers, it seems like they always lose when they come back. It seems like they're down 10, then like you said, they come back, and then they're down 10, then they come back, then they're down 10, they come back, but they're never able to get over that hump, with the exception of, like I said, against the Pacers. So we need to figure out a way to, if we're, able to come back, then complete that comeback and and win those games. And if we have a big lead, control that lead. And look, the NBA is a game of runs. We both know that. That's just the way it is. No lead is ever really feels safe, almost from any team. But there has to be a limit. You can't be up 20 or 25 that seemingly every other game and then just give it all away. Where is the disconnect there? Is there something that the coaching staff is doing, or something, a combination of players that are being put in where we are not able to keep that lead? There has to be a pattern there that we're not seeing, because it's just not, it's something that happens so often that it's something that happens so often that there has to be something there. There has to be something that we're missing, because it should not happen that consistently.
So let me pull. This is going to be directly from the article that I wrote this week from Believe Win Media, where I wrote, yes, the Cavs struggles are concerning. And I think that this is worth repeating. It's worth going back and taking a look, because I think this stat is very telling.
It's a great article, by the way.
Thank you. So the Cavs defense, they still do rank number 2 overall in points given up per game at 104 per game. However, over the last 19 ball games, they've only held their opponents under 100 points 5 times. Quick reminder, they are 21-4 this year when they hold their opponent to under 100. Those 5 times were against the Pelicans, the Pacers, the Spurs, the Wizards, and the Raptors game recently that was on ESPN. 3 out of those teams, and San Antonio being the exception here, rank average at 15 or below average in offensive scoring per game. In that same stretch, the Cavs have given up 110 or more points 10 times. They only gave up at least 110 points 12 times prior to that in their first 49 games. 2 of those games, by the way, were their first 2 games of the campaign. And another interesting stat, which, as much as we talked about the 3 big men, and this is the last stat I'll share with you. The Cavs in defensive paint points per game, where they should be, in my opinion, with their 3 7-footers, top 5 in that department. They only rank 12th in that department. And over the last 3 games, They have been dominated in the paint, giving up an average of 53 paint points a game. That is tied with the Knicks and the Hornets for 21st in the league. That's obviously below average. That's obviously not going to cut it come playoff time. And as I mentioned again, that is really concerning to me that a team that still has Martin, a team that still has Evan Mobley, a team that still has Kevin Love, a team that should pride itself on defense, they're not stopping anybody inside the way they should. They're giving up way too many outside shots. I mean, Luke Kennard for the Clippers. There was some time he was just, he's a great 3-point shooter. Obviously, he was in the 3-point shot. There's sometimes they didn't even get a hand in his face. And they let DeMar DeRozan get to his mid-range easily against Chicago and Miami, with Evan their way, with Hero and Duncan. It's like what we have great perimeter defenders. We have Isaac Okoro. We have Lamar Stevens, who's finally starting to get some more time. We have these guys. What's going on where they're not putting in the effort? Because if you get good defensive stats, we talked about the Cavs are one of the best teams in the NBA in transition and scoring off turnovers.
You know what the stats are the stats, and I agree with everything that you just said. The best visualization that I could think of right now is when the Cavs played the Heat. The Heat right now are the Cavs earlier in the season. Just good defense and then running down the floor. And we have said this podcast after, basically since the Browns started the Cavs. I'm sorry. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have Browns on the brain. We're all talking about it. Don't worry. It's not like it's there. It's there. But we've been talking about this podcast since this skid that the Cavs need to get back to what made them successful. Defense and running the floor, and they're not doing it. It seems like those are when we get the runs. That is when we either come back or we take these big leads, is when we're playing tough D and then we're flying down the floor. And then we get lackadaisical and then we give the lead back, or we start to get crushed because we're not running. We could not keep up with the Miami Heat. They were flying and we could not keep up with them at all. And that is why we lost that game. Jimmy Butler was limping half the game, and we got killed on the inside by Adebayo. Yep. The 12 minutes Oladipo played where, he played well. They're flying down the court. And if somehow we got away from that and we can't do that now, and we talked about this, I think, last podcast when we played Toronto. Toronto does the same thing, except they're just like the Cavs. They're big, they're tall, and they play defense and they like to run in transition. If we're getting away from that, then what is our identity? There seems to be a lot more sets going on offense where the Cavs don't have any, it's maybe not a play, but they're just not moving as much either.
Thank you. I was going to bring that up. I noticed it, a lot more since Garland has come back. It feels like it's a lot of hero ball. And I mentioned this in my article as well. I don't know if it's the fact that Kevin Love and Cedi Osman, who have been a great, obviously 1-2 punch off the bench we talked about all year long. I don't know if it's the fact that Love, was still scoring, but he has not been scoring as much over the last 19, 20 games. He's only put up, 20 points 4 times since then. He's shooting only an average of 45% from the field since then. Cedi Osman some nights will score 20 plus. Other nights he's in the single digits, shooting less than 30% from the field. So I don't know if those two guys struggling is why they feel like they have to go to almost hero ball isolation with Darius Garland. I don't know if you remember, but the first 3 episodes of the podcast this year, I was saying the Cavs ball movement reminds me a lot of Golden State in their very early days with Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green, where they were just boom, boom. No one ever took a dribble. It was boom, 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 right to the basket. Now it's a lot of standings, dribble, pick and roll, give it up, pass. Teams are leaving, whoever isn't the greatest 3-point shooter out in the corner at the wing, whether it's a Okoro or Stevens, and they're playing the role man. They're basically saying, pass it to Okoro, pass it to Stevens, let him shoot the three. Darius Garland's performances are great. He's scoring 40 points a game. Yeah, he's doing it most in the second half. The Cavs are winning ball games by 3 points. It's nothing to, it's a good individual accomplishment, but as a team goal, it's not leading them any victories. And that's one of the things that I think me and you do really well of is it's like, well, a loss, you can see some good things in a loss. A win, you can see some poor signs in a win. And right now, and then I'll pass it to you, but right now, the ball movement has not been good, and it may be causing some lack of defense in the defensive end because of it.
What the teams have really been double teaming Garland a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's because there's no other threat, really besides maybe Markkanen on the perimeter, which is why, hopefully LeVert can start playing normal minutes. I think that really is going to alleviate a lot of pressure off of Garland and really the team as a whole, because he can create his own shot. Let's face it, Mobley's not the best dribbler. He hasn't been shooting the same as he did in the beginning of the season from, he likes the left side of the elbow. But his shot just has been kind of off. I mean, he dunks the ball 400 times a game, which is fine. If he gets 30 points and they're all on dunks, I'm fine with that. I'm just saying he's not shooting as well. The other thing is, and like you said, with Love and Osman, it's not just the production. It just seems like the energy that's coming off the bench is not there.
Yep.
When you come off the bench, it's to bring that energy so you can start climbing either back into a game or extend the lead. And that energy just doesn't seem to be there. In the earlier games, it was electric. It was palpable. These guys would come into the game and you could feel it, just running through your, coursing through your veins, pumping through your body. And now they come in and you're like, okay, well, are they going to try to climb back out of this 20-point deficit, or are they going to be able to hold this 20-point lead? And it inevitably is never either one of those. It's always, the worst case scenario. So I don't know what the answer is. I kind of want to say LeVert is the answer because we have not seen what he can do really 100% healthy and really inserted into the lineup. That, I believe, is going to be a very big sign. And I hate the fact that I'm saying this now after how many weeks since we traded for him. How long has it been?
It's been over a month. I mean, the trade deadline was February 10th. We're sitting here recording today on March 16th, so 36 days.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt he played like the first 3 games, came off the bench, but didn't really give many minutes. Then he got hurt, though. Then it was the All-Star. Then he sprained his ankle.
Got hurt right after the All-Star break.
And the game against the Clippers was the last time we saw him, which was, a couple nights ago. So he's really only played 4 or 5 games for the Cavs.
But again, what's his role? Does he know his role? Is he coming off the bench? Is he starting?
Well, this is what we talked about. So, however many podcasts ago, that he would need to find, Bickerstaff would need to find where to put him. He's not a bench player. He is a starter. If you gave up a first round pick and you have him coming off the bench, then why the hell did we trade for him in the first place? He is besides Garland, the only person who can create his own shot off the dribble. Mobley's turnovers mostly come off of the fact that he's trying to dribble like a guard at 7 feet tall. Can't do it. Markkanen, great range. He's more aggressive than Mobley on the boards, but he can't really create his own shot. He's good at kind of pushing his way, into the basket, but not in the same way that Garland or LeVert can do it. You need to, and Okoro, listen, Okoro needs to develop a shot. There's no doubt about it. The one thing Okoro can do, he can get to the basket. You know what? If you're doing a lot of these pick and rolls up top, have Okoro slash in the basket from the baseline. Yep. They did it 4 times last game. He ended up with what, 20 plus points, yep. 20 or 20 plus points. I mean, that's what he does. He's a slasher. We knew that since we drafted him. But they're not drawing up plays for it. Why? They have him stand in the corner. He's trying to pop these threes, which he makes once in a blue moon. Take the offseason, develop your shot. But for right now, it's not what you do. You're a slasher. We've seen you posterize 3 guys at once on a dunk. He's got a ridiculously quick first step going to the rim, slash to the rim, dunk it down. He's got, when he gets to the rim, he could do some pretty ridiculous shots to put it through the hoop. That's what he needs to focus on. But he's not going to create his own shot, his own jumper, not like a Levert, not like a Garland. So like me and you talked about, what's the roster? The roster needs to be Garland, Okoro, Levert, and I don't care if you play, if 2 or 3, doesn't matter which one plays which, because Okoro is going to obviously be on the best player on the other team. Although Levert's defense has been very good too in the very few games he's played with the Cavs, and then Markkanen and Mobley. And you have to figure out what you're doing down there because Mobley's getting pushed around. And
you know what? To me, this game tonight with Philadelphia, and I think that you guys may be listening to this tomorrow, so you'll see if we are right on this. But we got to see Evan Mobley have a hell. I said it Friday against Miami, and even Saturday against Chicago. Vucevic, I mean, he started out the game basically, 7 out of the first 11 points, dominating down low, getting easy hook shots. Tonight, you're going up against, in my opinion, possibly the MVP of the National Basketball Association in Joel Embiid, probably going to be guarded by one Evan Mobley. Mo, I'm not asking you to outscore Joel Embiid. That's impossible. That's not going to happen. Embiid's probably going to have somewhere between 25 and 30 points. I'm not asking you to, play hero ball. What I'm asking from him is to just stifle Embiid and Martin to part of that, and really force these guys to make tough shots and hold your own inside. We still have 2 7-footers on the court. That's much more than a normal NBA team has nowadays. Some teams don't even have 1 7-footer on the court. We have to start owning our territory again like a freaking dog. Piss on it, like J.B. Bickerstaff would say. Own it. Own your freaking territory. Get the shots out of there. Get out. Play defense. Play hard at the rim. Get out and run, because we are not an efficient offensive team. We don't shoot free throws well. We don't necessarily shoot the 3 particularly well. We are a drive to the basket, get easy opportunity teams. And when we do not play defense, when we don't get those stops, when we have to play in the half court, that's when it goes awry, because we miss a couple of shots and other teams get out in transition. The lead balloons to 6, 8, 10, 12 points. And then all of a sudden it's deep, timeout, and the energy just drops in the building. It's got to change. It's got to change starting tonight.
The one thing I want to point out, the Cavs have actually been way better on their free throw percentage. Since you brought that up, maybe like 4 or 5 podcasts ago, they've been way better on their free throw percentage. But being an armchair coach right now, if tonight against the Sixers, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I'm putting Okoro on Harden, because Okoro did a good job on Harden last game, and I'm double teaming Embiid with Markkanen and Mobley and making somebody else beat us.
Yep.
Last game, Maxey had a really good game last game.
But you know what? If Maxey beats you, you live with it.
Exactly, because you got to do something. You can't let Embiid do what he does. The fact that Okoro can almost shut down, most players in the league, and we've talked about this. We've said it a bunch of times. We ragged on him earlier in the season, but the kid needs to be all team. Maybe I think first team defense. How many teams have a guy that can lock down any team's best player 1 through 4?
Heck, in the NBA, nobody plays defense anymore.
Yeah, Isaac Okoro does, and he's phenomenal at it. So if he can lock down Harden, you double team Embiid, like you said, if you lose, you live with it because you did what you had to do to make somebody else beat you, because that's just the way it is. I don't think one-on-one Mobley can handle Embiid. I don't think one-on-one Markkanen can handle Embiid. I think that you need to double team him. You need to, and you live with the results if someone else gets hot. That's just the way it is. So we'll see come tonight. I have faith that the Cavs can win, and I think that they really, really need to win this game. This is not a drill. They need to win this freaking game tonight to show that we can beat higher seeds. And will they? Well, we'll find out.
Well, not only do we have Philadelphia tonight, but then on Friday we have a game against the reigning, defending National Basketball Association MVP, Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. So we have potentially the back-to-back MVPs in Joel Embiid this year, maybe Jokic. Who knows how that's going to shape up? We have the two front runners, I should say, to be more clear, Embiid and Jokic. Then we face the Pistons, who we all know the Pistons game is coming down to a dogfight. I'm telling you right now, it should not, but it's going to come down to a last-second shot. And then we have the man who is scoring 50-point games in blowouts and going to win the scoring title for a terrible team in LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers coming here on Monday, where Russell Westbrook will probably go 2 from 14 from the field, but LeBron will score 50 and they'll still lose to us by 20. That's not the here nor there, but that's my dream. So the way I see it, I think the Cavs, best case scenario here, I'm hoping we go 3-1. I think we go 2-2, Joey. I can actually see us going 1-3. I hope not, but I could really see. I think the Lakers game, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think the Lakers game is the easiest and most winnable game on this schedule over the next 4 games. I think Detroit, outside of Philadelphia, might be the hardest game. What is it about these teams, these young Detroits, these Houstons, that give us so much trouble?
You're killing me because that was gonna be what I was gonna say. I'm really not worried about Philly or Denver or LA. I'm worried about Detroit. Because we can't figure out how the hell to beat the Detroit Pistons, one of the worst records in the league. And we're playing Philly. And I'm like, hey, yeah. I'm like, hey, just double team Embiid, have a Coro guard Harden, and we got a shot against the Pistons. I'm like, how the hell do we beat this team? I don't know. Someone signed Jordan out of retirement. Maybe we got a shot then. I don't even know what the heck to do. It's crazy that we had to. This is where we're at. I mean, God, if they could have just won the games they were supposed to, the Cavs would be like they'd still be the second seed right now. Okay, so getting back to my prediction. I hate to do it. I hate to be that guy. I am going to say I'm going with what you said. I'm gonna go with what you said. I think the Cavs play tough tonight. I think it could go either way. I think they really got something to prove, but I think that someone does beat the Cavs, whether it's Embiid or Harden or somebody else. Maybe they do exactly what I said, and Niang catches fire and hits 23s. Who knows? Or Dybule or Maxey or whoever. But I'm gonna say the Cavs are gonna go 1-3. I think they actually do lose to the Pistons again, and they win against the Lakers. I hate to say that because I don't want to be a pessimist, and I think the Cavs honestly can still make noise in the playoffs, even if it's in a play-in. I think that they can make it in, and whoever they play, they're going to play tough. I'm not giving up on them. I just think that right now they're still figuring it out. I will say this. I'm giving you my prediction based on a LeVert-less Cavs team. If Karis LeVert is inserted into the starting lineup and give the Cavs the production that we need, that we traded for him for, then I think the Cavs have a chance of, like you said, going 2-2 or 3-1. But that's predicated on LeVert actually getting a chance to play with the starting unit and doing what he does. The Cavs need offense. It's not a secret. We've talked about it forever, that the Cavs need another playmaker. That's why when Sexton comes back next year, watch out. If he comes back, I should say. But I think he does come back, right?
Isn't he a restricted free agent, I believe?
Yeah, but does this year count since he got hurt?
I don't know. I have to look that up.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, but if LeVert gives us that productivity, I think the Cavs have a good chance of going 2-2, even 3-1. But as it sits right now, as of what we have seen, I'm going to say 1-3. And we're going to have a really tough conversation next Wednesday once again. And let's hope I'm wrong. Let's hope that we're both wrong and they go 4-0 or we come back with just these crazy positive vibes, because there's always hope. Brandon, it is what it is. The Cavs they're a pleasant surprise. They're still 10 games over 500. And I still have faith that they're still the 6th seed. That it's not like they're out of the playoffs. I still have faith that they can come back. They could do it. We're going to see. And, next Wednesday is going to be a real fun time. So I know you got some real important stuff to talk about now, Brandon. So I'm going to head it right back off to you.
Thank you. So, yeah, I know we feel like I've been dogging on the Cavs all day, but really there is some hope for optimism. I'm going to leave you guys with some wonderful optimism, though, because once again, I will keep saying it, I will keep tweeting it, I will keep posting it, I will do whatever it takes to get you guys to sponsor Believe Land Media. Here's an update, though, since the last time I gave you guys the full spiel on Believe Land Media. So as you guys know, we currently have 5 active podcasts at Believe Land. Den of the Dogs, which covers the Browns. Of course, Guardians of the CLE, which covers the Cleveland Guardians. Future Guardians of the Land, which covers the Guardians prospect and affiliate teams. The Mic Drop Podcast, which covers general sports. And the Pile Driver Podcast, starting soon, covering professional wrestling and local Ohio indie wrestling promotions. All audio podcasts, as you guys know, can be accessed on all the popular platforms. And we have added video, as you also know, to our podcast via our YouTube channel. Now, since starting in November of 2021, Believe Land Media currently is averaging 100 to 150 downloads per month in audio podcasts and 450 views per article on written content overall, with a total of 4,000 per month. Joey's article on the Browns and their moves with Amari Cooper in the NFL draft just reached 43 likes as of this morning and over 1,600 views. Make sure to go check it out. Great content by our man Joey Schneider as we continue to grow. Obviously, Believe in Media is expected to have a big 2022, and we want you to sponsor with us in 4 different packages you can choose from. Package number 1 is $50 a month or $250 one-time payment. There is an ad in the sponsor section of the website and a weekly sponsor blast on all company and podcast social media accounts. Package number 2 is $100 a month. That is everything from package 1, along with a 20 to 30 second ad run on 2 of your shows per choice a week. Package 3 is $150 a month. That again includes everything from package 1, 20 to 30 second ad run on 4 shows of your choice, not 2, but 4, and a logo with your link of a Facebook page or a website on 5 written articles per week. And if you want to go to $200 a month, which comes out to $1,500 of a one-time payment, it is everything from package 1, including 20 to 30 second ad run on all shows, logo and link on all written content, and logo on all of our video podcasts. We thank you for being willing to sponsor with Believeland Media. Again, we are growing immensely. Me and Joey appreciate all of the support that you have given us throughout this long season. I can't believe we are 22 episodes in. Joey, believe it or not, we only have 3 more episodes left until the regular season concludes.
That is extremely hard to believe. I feel like we started this journey a long time ago, but I still think that there's a lot of basketball left to be played, and we're going to be covering the Cavs all throughout the off season, and it's a blast every single week. Sometimes we come on here with just such great energy because we're so excited, and then there's other times where today we were like, they got to fix it, damn it, they got to fix it, and but every time we come on, always something new, always something fun. And guys, Believeland Media is growing at such an incredibly rapid pace. Get on the sponsorship train. We don't want anyone to miss out because, believe it or not, we are some of the best journalists, on-air talent in the Cleveland market. Make sure to check out the Den of Dogs. I believe they're recording tonight. Am I right?
Yes, correct.
They are having guest Tyvis Powell, former OSU, former Browns player, on tonight, and that's going to be a really, really good show. Really interesting to see what he has to say with everything going on with the Cleveland Browns. So check it out, Brandon. The only thing we'll have to do, buddy, you know what it is.
Let them know. We'll see you guys next week for another episode.